So here the following scenario. I've got it in Hebrew, but I'm going to try to explain. We got Reuven and Shimon. Reuven is the benefactor, and Shimon is the beneficiary. That's the normal roles, the names which we give for the roles. Okay, so now Reuven lent Shimon his credit card. It's not a very wise thing to do, but that's what happened, yeah? And so he lent Shimon the use of his credit card. Shimon used it and clocked up significant debt. And now let's say he's clocked up £1,000 of debt, didn't pay on time. So now this debt has now accrued interest, let's say £900. I don't know what the time period, let's say this is the kind of the way the Shiloh was put to me. Now, Shimon feels very bad that that Reuven has accrued this extra thing, but he knows, and that's the pashtus of the halacha is that Shimon cannot pay Reuven back that £900 directly, because basically Reuven has borrowed money from Barclays, and he's got one deal with Barclays, and then Reuven has kindly lent money to Shimon, but these are two separate transactions, so Shimon mustn't pay back a penny more than what he received in the loan. And therefore, the fact that Reuven got the money in an expensive way rather than take it out of his piggy bank, that doesn't allow Shimon to reimburse him. So that's generally accepted. And I always, when I'm teaching Talmidim, I try to explain this to them, that if you are lending someone by means of your credit card, you won't be able to retrieve the accrued interest. So just bear that in mind. So what the question here is, Shimon has got two interesting strategies. Number one, Shimon is a Melamed, and he says to his employer, the Menayel, could you, instead of paying me, pay directly to Reuven? So it's not that Shimon has taken the money and handed it over to Reuven, it's kind of deducted at source. Would that be an acceptable method? Next step was, if that's not acceptable, Shimon, there are these funds in various every community should have a tzedakah fund, and Shimon is, unfortunately, one of those who are on the receiving end on a regular basis. So he's got his budget, and he understands that he could ask the director of that fund, instead of paying me what you give me on a monthly basis, or weekly basis, whatever it may be, if you could pay off that money to Reuven, so Reuven will be reimbursed. So I looked at this, and their first option I felt was not allowed. Shimon is working, and then his wages are being deducted to pay Reuven ribis with interest. I didn't think that, but the other one I felt was I was more inclined to be lenient on this, but I wasn't confident. So I wrote to a friend of mine in Melbourne who's specialized in Hilchos Ribis. His name is Shabsi Tayar. I asked him what he felt that even that second method also shouldn't be employed. In other words, there shouldn't be any way that Shimon is out of pocket because of reimbursing, because of ribis going to Reuven. What should be done, though? What should be done is that, and that was his recommendation. What do you do in such a situation? Because we have our sympathy for Reuven also. He's out of pocket. The answer is that Shimon, let's say, will get hold of £1,000 for 10 minutes. He gives it in cash to Reuven, pays off the old debt. Then Reuven gives back the £1,000 to Shimon. I'm giving it now to you under the terms of Heter Iska. And on the terms of Heter Iska, it's going to be an investment in Shimon's business, whatever it may be. On the terms of Heter Iska, he is allowed to reimburse, to give back more than what he received. So again, kind of wind down the previous loan, close that, create a new loan. But now there's not going to be a loan, it's going to be called a Heter Iska, and then you can make repayment terms however you see fit. That was his advice, and that's how I would go further. Let's go on to the next question. Yes. Yes.
Why can you not see Reuven Lechatchila as the shaliach? He's just passing the money from the goy to the goy.
So the answer to this is that because Barclays don't know Shimon. Barclays have a deal with Reuven, and then Reuven has a deal with Shimon. He's not an agent. He's not like how do you say, whatever, people who are like agents connecting. He's not a shadchan. There's two separate transactions here, and that's where we get into trouble.
Maybe seen as an ori.
He's not even he's more than an Orev. He's a lender. He has.
Barkley trusts Reuven. And Reuven is saying whoever takes it, so he's really just.
And even if it's an Orev, is also doesn't matter. You're not allowed to be an Orev for Ribbis either. Yeah. If your son, by the way, if my son wants to buy a house and wants to borrow money from a Yid, no, wait a minute. I'll have to think about it. But there is restrictions even to be an Orev for a loan comes into Ribbis. Okay, let's move on.